Season 1, Episode 23. This week on Rebel, Tony McGrath swings by the studio to chat about his new adventure as CEO of Theatre Grand in downtown Calgary. From his life as a management consultant to running one of Calgary's oldest and dearest theatre spaces, we chat about performing arts, creative entrepreneurs, support for artists, and even how to reach them if you got a project in mind, because there's space available, Calgary. And some stuff that just totally blew my mind. I'm your host, Michael Dean Dargy. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 23, The Damme, Theatre Grand, with Tony McGrath. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn. Even check out our website, therebelrebelpodcast.com, or follow us on social media at RebelRebelPod. Yeah. All right, well, I'm sitting here with brand new CEO of Theatre Grand, Tony McGrath.
Good to meet you, Michael.
In full disclosure, I started the interview by calling you Tim, so that was fun.
It was, and I'm sure there's a famous Tim McGrath out there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Maybe I'll put a link in the in the description. Anyway, so welcome to the Rebel Podcast.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. It's sunny outside, and
yeah, it's gonna be +9 in Calgary today.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's nice to get out and get the exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, look, you just took over Theatre Grand not very long ago.
Yeah, 12 weeks now.
Oh, my God.
And a chunk of that till November the 1st was in an interim role.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And so let me back up a couple steps. So Theatre Grand is, I think, the longest running theatre in Calgary. Is that about right?
Something like that. There is some historical fact around us being the oldest continuously performing arts theatre in Western Canada, but I'm probably wrong.
Yeah.
And my wife will, I'm no doubt, correct me later.
Well, I did just the tiniest bit of research. The first show was February 5th, 1912.
Yep.
And so, I mean, that's quite a chunk of history. That's over 100 years it's been around.
Yep.
And it's in the Lougheed building.
It is, right next to the brand new and very impressive Brookfield Tower.
Yeah. So what is that, like 608 First Street, I think?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, downtown.
Southwest, just.
Yeah. Just, yeah. And I've been there a couple of times, but I mostly remember it back in the 80s. I'm pretty sure I saw Alien there in 1980. 1979, 1988, I might have snuck in to see Alien.
Yeah, I think most Calgarians of a certain vintage, and I'll be kind to you here, at least over 40.
Yeah,
remember the Grand as a movie theatre.
Yeah,
and in fact, in our studio rehearsal room on the 3rd floor, we still have the original projector room up there.
Yeah.
So that's a popular spot for dancers who are rehearsing to go.
Oh, nice.
And hide away to eat their lunch, I think. So.
Oh, right on. Yeah. Oh, so now we know where it is in the world. We know how long it's been around. Why on earth did you take this on?
That's a really, really good question. I've never been in the arts in my life. I have been a soldier, and I've been a banker, and I worked in insurance, and I've been an entrepreneur, and I've been a management consultant. So a theatre in Calgary, in our beautiful arts community here, was probably the furthest thing from my mind in my career at 62 years old.
No kidding. So how on earth did you find yourself doing this?
A very roundabout way. About 4 years ago, my wife was at a lawyer event. She's a lawyer here in town, and the speaker was a general who'd written a book, and I was bored. Not with the speaker particularly, but with all respect to lawyers, there was about 200 lawyers in a room, and I'm not.
Yeah.
So there was this very interesting guy sitting next to me. I got chatting to, not loyally whatsoever, and
kindred spirit.
Yeah, and had some really interesting tattoos, and I didn't have one at all at that point. So we got chatting about some of his tattoos and the cartoons imprinted on his arm. Huh. The guy's name is Tony Cioni. He's a very highly respected lawyer in the oil and gas industry and has worked in some very remote and dangerous places.
Wow.
So we had a very interesting conversation around music, and we met for lunch a couple of weeks later. He said, you should be on our board, and I on the board at the Grand, Theatre Junction Grand, as it's known at the moment. And I said, not over my dead body. I'm not a board guy. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Asking an Irishman to be anything to do with governance is just fatal. However, my wife is very creative, very interested in the arts, and very suited to board governance. So Marcy joined the board at Theatre Junction, and through our consulting business, we helped out the team at the theatre and the board team with some strategic planning.
Oh, nice.
So I kicked around the theatre as a strategic advisor. That's a very grand title for basically going to lunch with the board that I kind of like from time to time.
Yeah.
So the theatre has faced some upheaval, both in its internal culture and its external relationships over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
For a variety of different reasons. And it came to a bit of a head around about June, July this year. So the board asked me if I'd step in as an experienced CEO for 3 or 4 weeks, just to give them some breathing space to make some decisions. So I did. I had the time available, and I agreed to do it on a deferred payment contract until such time as they were in a better position. And I fell in love. Literally going to work in the building, I fell in love with the depth of history and the richness of the building in there. I just fell in love with it.
It's gorgeous inside. Yeah. And you were telling me something I didn't know. The Marx Brothers perform there. I think you said Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers.
Yeah, Sarah Bernhardt, Paul Robeson. Yeah, we've even had ladies back in the 20s take their seats with tickets with wearing pants, which was scandalous in those days. We had an African Canadian guy took a paid seat in the all white section way back and refused to leave. So we've got some got some incredible acts have been through there, very famous, world famous performers, and we've had some incidents that have national impact in our country as Canadians. So
yeah, no kidding.
Incredible place.
Yeah, and I mean, just walking the halls. So there's a restaurant that's basically the main floor there.
Yeah.
And there's a lounge upstairs. There's a rehearsal space, which is super cool. I was there for the Calgary Society of Independent Filmmakers. They did a screening up there for some stuff. You've got this huge theater that seats, what, 450?
Yeah, around about 430 people. I'm sure my team will correct me on that later. But yeah, around about that mark. We've got a beautiful mezzanine bar, which is has a real speakeasy feel to it.
Yeah.
Our restaurant partner and tenant in there, Workshop with Kenny Kelly, is top 100 restaurants on Open Table in Canada.
Wow.
Our rehearsal space is quite remarkable up on the top floor, and we still have our box office where the original box office was, and our 6th Avenue exit still has the original 1912 tiling on the wall. So
kidding.
I actually can't believe I go to work here.
Yeah. Well, and just walking up and down, there's so much history, and it's just such a beautiful building.
Yeah, I feel really blessed that the board considered me worthy of looking after the place for them, and that's progressed into a longer term commitment.
So
just recently. So.
Yeah, so tell me about that. What does that look like for you?
Well, I'm not in my 20s anymore, so you know I probably don't have 40 years to give to the theatre, but my plan is to be around here for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I'd like to find a young, energetic and creative executive team to take the theatre forward at the end of that time. So I feel my job is not just as a CEO, but as a custodian of a legacy to Calgary. It is my intention to give this theatre back to Calgary and open its doors to our arts and creative community here. But create something that my granddaughter can enjoy, and she's 6 years old right now.
Right.
And I had 2 defining moments, I think, in making the decision to stay and give up my business, or at least a portion of my business. And the first one was, I don't want to have to face my 6-year-old granddaughter when she's 16 and her ask me what happened to that beautiful theatre we had downtown.
Yeah.
And me have to tell her it's a gym now. I don't want to do that. And I recently got to spend some time with just some incredible human beings from a theatre company called Black Radish here in town, who will be performing Waiting for Godot in our theatre in the spring. And one of the actors in that group over lunch turned to me and literally with a tear in his eye said, I never dreamed we would ever be able to perform in this theatre. Wow. And I think there are moments for me that make this completely and utterly worthwhile, and beyond anything that's personal to me, this is personal to the city and the young people of Calgary. And I truly view myself as just the custodian of putting this grand old lady back on her feet and giving her the full power of creative license in this city to do cool shit. So
right on. What, like, if you were to describe the theater as this grand old Damme, like what are some of the personality traits that are?
Well, I just see her as your 75-year-old auntie who still wears really cutting edge, fashionable clothing and square-rimmed spectacles and a hat and smokes and drops F-bombs constantly and is just totally unpredictable in where she's going to go and what she's going to do. So I love that image. I believe that the Grand is a true feminist in every sense of the word, and she's afraid of nothing.
I love it.
So that's how I view our grand old lady here in Calgary, I think. So.
Wow. So with that in mind, I mean, so you got Waiting for Godot coming.
Yep.
Is that space available for other theater companies that might be looking for a space? Because Calgary right now is really lacking in available theater space.
Absolutely. And my agreement with the board and with our incredible young team at the Grand is that our doors are fully open. We're going to have a creative subcommittee of our board pulled from Calgary's arts and creative community to collaborate with local theatre companies, dance, digital art, music. We're really open to anybody performing in our theatre, and our intent is to make it accessible and affordable.
Wonderful.
We want to keep an overriding creative vision of contemporary, but I feel our real creative vision is we want to do cool shit in this theatre.
Yeah, right on.
So I really want to reach out to our artistic community, theatre companies. We've done very little with our Indigenous brothers and sisters. Yeah. We haven't done a great job of reaching out to our ethnic brothers and sisters and communities in this city. We've done a poor job of engaging with our young people here. Yeah. I think we really would like to embrace our LBGQT community in the city. So I truly want it to go back to what it was in 1912 when it opened, and that is like the heartbeat of what's going on downtown
Wow.
in the city of Calgary. So we probably would consider Nutcracker, but probably only if it's naked.
Can't get that vision out of my head now. That's amazing. So do you have anything else on the boards yet for 2019?
Well, we're in discussions with Erin O'Neill from Calgary, who heads up a beautiful dance group called La Tresse in Montreal.
Okay.
We're hoping to work with them. But other than that, most of our other discussions are still at a relatively early stage.
Right.
We're hoping to become the first wellness center for performing arts in Canada, and we've been in discussion with a wonderful lady called Karen Suds from our dance community here in town.
Yeah.
So we're still at early stages of that kind of development.
And what does that mean? Sorry, to a wellness center.
So to look after dancers and musicians and actors, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
Wow.
The small amount I have done in terms of research of this, and I'm bringing this from my entrepreneurial experience. Artists in particular do a very poor job of looking after themselves.
Yeah.
So it is in our vision that we will create a space and the skills and the ability for them to start to learn how to look after themselves.
Wow.
And it is my belief that we will only benefit creatively and artistically from that kind of movement. So Karen brought that idea to me. It may have been me who pushed it in that conversation, but that I think is something that's very achievable.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'd like to build an incubator and accelerator for performing arts. So we start to teach our young artists here in Alberta how to budget and production plans and how to market and how to build social media campaigns.
That would be
and
amazing.
work on the creative business side of their performing arts.
Nice.
So I would really like to stop us losing our creative drain from this city.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot keeping our young artists, performing artists in particular, here in the city. And I'd like to change that. And we've done so much in this city towards encouraging entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I believe we have a great community of creative and artistic entrepreneurs that we don't pay attention to. So that's a bit of a blue sky goal for me, but I believe the Grand should be a national and international leader in innovations like that.
That's fantastic. How inspiring is that? Holy shit. As an artist, I'm like, I'm exploding inside right now.
I think maybe some people would consider me crazy, but you know, my wife and I built a federally approved insurance company from our living room, and we require the Canadian finance minister's sign off to do that. So we were told that we were crazy to even consider doing that when our three biggest competitors were multi-billion-dollar American companies. So I don't think this is just a dream. I think this is something that's quite achievable, and I do look to what the Banff Centre has achieved as inspiration, and the guys, Reed Henry and Dieter up at cSpace, have done a fantastic job with their social enterprise.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there.
So I find both of those groups incredibly inspirational, and I believe with their advisement and support, there is no reason why Calgary cannot be a leading force in nationally and internationally in performing arts. So
nice. Do you find that at that level, like between Banff Centre and cSpace and other similar types of places, do you guys support each other in what you're doing?
I see a great enthusiasm for innovation and the creation of completely new ideas from both of those spaces.
Oh, great.
I love their energy and I love their vision for the future.
Yeah.
I haven't been out to Banff just recently to go visit, but I'm going to make sure that happens. I went to see Reed and Dieter, and their energy and innovation and their thinking is just remarkable. So that's so inspiring to me.
Oh, that's great. So with your, my goodness, how do people engage with you? You know, if somebody, like, let's say there's an artist that's listening to this and they're like, oh my goodness, I've got a show that I've always wanted to put up, but I haven't been able to have the space. How would somebody like that go about getting in touch with you or getting in touch with Theatre Grand about, you know, perhaps booking space or at least starting that conversation?
Well, it's very difficult to get hold of me. You call the theatre and I think press 1 for CEO. I have made myself completely accessible to anybody who wishes to talk to me. You can reach me either at Tony at theatrejunction.com. We're going through a name change in the next little while, but that email will still work. You can reach me on LinkedIn. You can reach me by just telephoning the theatre directly. I'm on the directory. I will answer your call and I will get back to you. So
awesome.
I don't believe in protecting myself from either opportunity or criticism. So.
Well, you are bold.
Yeah,
awesome. What's your just a complete aside? Actually, let me do this first. I'm so inspired by you and your drive to create something in this city that's not been lacking, but that we almost lost. Like, so the Grand Theatre, which is what it was called way back in the day.
Yeah, it was originally the Sherman Grand.
The Sherman Grand
when it was opened. Yeah.
Wow. And 2004 it almost burnt down.
Yeah, we were a golf driving range at one point.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and a guy called Mark Laws pulled together a movement to rebuild and refurbish the place. A remarkable achievement.
Yeah, and I mean, and you step up to be interim CEO, and I'm not blowing sunshine up your ass. Like I think the thing that I'm most struck by is the fact that you're taking extraordinary steps to protect something that's incredibly important to so many of us in Calgary that we feel is lacking. So I just want to say thanks, because that's kick-ass.
I appreciate your thanks, but I'd like to turn that around a little bit. I don't think ever in a 4-decade career in business I have ever been given an opportunity as beautiful and as with as much purpose as this. So I actually don't feel thanks are in order whatsoever. Like, how could I not do this?
Yeah.
Like, why would I not do this? Like, this is a remarkable opportunity to do something that just makes my heart smile. Like, I honestly, as much as I appreciate it, I don't think thanks are in order. I think what I would love is the support of the community to do this, and not just the arts community. I think on a much wider scale than that. This is your theatre. I'm just looking after it for the time being, but you know, I'm not doing this out of some sacrifice in my life. Like, how could I not do this? It's such an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, well, and you know, going through the theater with you the other day with that bounce in your step as you go up and down those stairs, and you know, it's a lot of fun to see the twinkle in your eye and the bounce in your step and the, you know, gigantic smile everywhere you go. Yeah,
I found out recently from my mum. We're on my mum's side, we're Dubliners, and it turns out my mum's brother Tony was the front of house manager at the Abbey Theatre in Dublin.
Get out of town.
Yeah, I didn't know I had theatre in my family, and I had no clue I actually had any creative essence in my body at all.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, so like it's remarkable that somehow the Abbey's an iconic theatre in Europe. Yeah. Like, everybody goes to Dublin and wants to know what's on at the Grand, and at the Abbey. And I want that for the Grand here in Calgary. So.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. So if you're not working on a theatre, what do you do in your spare time?
Well, spare time has been a bit sparse over the last 12 weeks. Yeah. You know, I've been engaged in finding toilet paper and keys, and alarm systems not working, and but that's just a normal part of business life. my wife and I have I can only be described by me as a beautiful relationship. Yeah. I love working with her. I already miss that in my life.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time supporting the arts in a variety of different ways. Marcy loves fashion, and that's something that I'm really keen to bring to our theatre.
Yeah.
We love road tripping. We just completed a 5-week road trip this summer when we went down right the way down through Montana and Idaho to Denver, then on to we spent time in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We stood on the corner in Wilmslow, Arizona. Winslow, Arizona. We went to Sedona. We ran a retreat for a client in Sedona.
Wow.
We met friends of ours from Mumbai over in Phoenix, and then drove home. So we managed to do a whole bunch of hiking in Zion. So a lot of our spare time is around doing cool stuff, in our opinion. It might
right
not be in everybody else's. So next week, we're heading down to San Francisco.
Yeah.
So we're going to go and spend a little time with Tony and Lucy, who are mentors of ours, and they live in Orinda near Berkeley.
Oh, okay.
Still live on their own, still drive, and they're both in their mid-90s.
Holy moly.
So this is an Austrian couple who survived the war. Tony actually has a more interesting personal history than anybody I've ever met. He fought on the Eastern Front as a conscripted soldier for the Germans during the war. Had to walk home when the war finished. He's been a male model, managed hotels. They've lived in London and Montreal and Hollywood and now San Francisco. Lucy worked for Fredericks at Hollywood. They're just incredible people, and we met them. They were guests at our business that we have in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
So then I'm going to go meet my cousin Anna Byrne. She's my first cousin, my dad's brother's girl. I've never met her.
Wow.
And she's married to a cop in San Francisco. So we're hoping to get a coffee together.
Yeah.
And then if the coast isn't on fire, we're going to drive down to LA and stay with some friends down in LA and hang out in that area for a little bit. So we love to travel in our own way.
Yeah.
We adore road tripping.
Yeah.
Both spiritually and from a business point of view. We've had some amazing experiences on road trips, and we've been introduced to spiritual teachers just by going to a garage sale and picking up CDs. And those incidents have actually changed our life significantly.
Wow.
And we've got a number of those things have happened to us over the last decade. So,
isn't that crazy? Yeah. Wow. So where else do you spend your time?
We love our little home here in Calgary.
Yeah.
Marcy's parents are from Brooks, Alberta, and they have a cabin on the lake at Lake Newell out there, which is actually a reservoir.
Yeah.
So we spend a bit of time there, and we own a little beachside boutique resort near Zihuatanejo in Mexico. So
Wonderful.
We get to spend a fair chunk of time down there as well. So being at the theatre is probably going to change the time available to me for a little while anyways. But we definitely like to travel. So as a couple, we live together, we eat together, we travel together, we work together.
Yeah.
And over 14 years together, we've never had an argument. So either there's something seriously wrong with us, or we've got a really good relationship. So we're not sure which it is sometimes. But we both think we've never found anything to fight about. So
that's fun.
Yeah.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
And you donate your time around town as well. I mean, so what are some of the things that you do to?
So as a couple, we donate about 40% of our business hours have gone to social enterprises.
Oh, wow.
So we've been involved in a couple over the last couple of years, and one that we're particularly fond of is an organisation called Redefined, run by an amazing friend of ours, Liz, who we met at the ATBx accelerator when we were mentors to her, and we've stayed on her board ever since. And her organisation is based on a similar organisation in LA called Homeboys.
Yeah.
And they basically plug the gap for young adults who have been through the system. Provide meaningful work for them.
Yeah.
Many of these young adults have challenges with their social skills in holding down jobs.
Right.
So they actually become full business owners with Liz.
Wonderful.
And they produce meals. So they make their own rules. They build their own company culture.
Wow.
They decide their own menu. They decide their all of their business decisions around premises and so on are made by the crew, as they call themselves.
Yeah.
And they have written their own social contract to manage that. So we so admire what Liz has done. She was an accountant, if I recall correctly, in the oil and gas industry, has worked with not-for-profits in Africa, and just an incredible human being. I personally give a lot of my time to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's an organisation that I've been a sober member of for approaching 21 years now.
Congratulations.
It wasn't me. Left to my own devices, I probably wouldn't have gotten sober, but I try and help men who are going through early sobriety with their struggles. And I've got an incredible friend circle within that organisation. So
that's great.
I try to give as much of my spare time as I can there because it saves my life too.
Nice. Yeah. Wow, man. What's on your bookshelf these days?
I'm a bit of a Philistine when it comes to reading. I love novels. I particularly love historical novels.
Like Fleshman Chronicles?
Not quite that cheesy, but heading in that direction. I love the Napoleonic era. I love some of the naval warfare novels that are kicking around. My bedside, I tend to have, other than my AA spiritual literature, I've got Dr. Wayne Dyer's rendition of the Tao that I read. So I try and read a verse every day when I can remember. I'm not terribly disciplined, but I find that brings a balance to my mind every morning.
Yeah.
I love to say I'm a real disciplinarian with my spiritual practice and my meditation, but I'm not.
But you like to say it.
Yeah, I do forget. So I am human, but I do my very best to do a reading and a meditation every morning. But that goes by the wayside sometimes when I get busy. So.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we have talked a lot about theater and dance and fashion and stuff like that. Do you watch movies? Like, is that a thing on your list?
Yeah, we've been to 2 over the last couple of weeks.
Have you? Which ones?
We went to see last weekend. We went to see Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, what'd you think? I haven't seen it yet.
Remarkable.
Yeah.
Like I grew up in Britain. I'm not a huge lover of anthem music, but Queen have been part and parcel of the culture I grew up in.
Yeah.
I had no idea Freddie Mercury wasn't actually Freddie Mercury, and I had no idea he had Indian origins. None at all. I thought he was a British kid. But it was a remarkable movie. It was so moving. It really illustrated the challenges of a young gay man in the society that I grew up in. Yeah. All of the challenges around drug and drink that he faced, I'm very familiar with. Yeah. So a great movie. And a couple of weeks before that, we went to see Bradley Cooper's movie, A Star Is Born.
With Lady Gaga.
And that totally surprised me. We went out for a date night. I expected it to be a bit of a girly movie, to be honest. I'm being careful with my words there, but both Marcy and I absolutely enjoyed it. He's all of his play around the final days of alcoholism were remarkable.
Wow.
the look in his eye, the feeling he had in his face, the desperation and the loneliness.
Yeah.
Were
I'm getting chills right now.
Were remarkable. I left totally blown away by his portrayal.
Wow.
I understand now why he was able to do that, but it actually reached depths of me that I haven't experienced since the early days of sobriety in the final days of my drinking.
Holy.
So just his facial expression, the scene when he was on the stage and pissed his pants.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but
just incredible. I've got to say, I personally feel that was an Oscar-worthy performance by him. So.
I've heard that a lot, and it's on my list of things to watch. Both of those, I haven't seen them either of them. I don't get out to the movie theater much, but yeah, I heard both performances were outstanding.
Yeah,
yeah,
remarkable. Both movies in very different ways. So. Would I love to bring those movies to the Grand? Absolutely. But we're looking at doing a movie series in 2019, and we're looking at 90s cult movies at the moment.
Oh,
so,
fun.
Yeah, so it should be good.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a blast.
Yeah.
So part of what I'd like to do on this show is ask creative rebels and entrepreneurs if there's other people like you out in the world that maybe are struggling and wondering how they're going to get done what needs to get done. What sort of advice or what would you say to them to, either to inspire or to warn them against?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've spent a lot of time talking to Marcy about that on our road trips. Because I'll start with entrepreneurism, and we'll move that into creative entrepreneurism in just a moment. But entrepreneurism right now is very sexy in our world.
Yeah,
it's particularly tech entrepreneurs. Every young person seems to want to be an entrepreneur. All the banks seem to want to encourage it, but don't want to lend them any money.
Except for ATB.
Yeah, a big call out to ATB locally. I think they've done a fantastic job. But it is a beast.
Yeah.
Being an entrepreneur requires balls of steel.
Yeah.
It is a challenging and somewhat damaging process that should not be taken lightly.
Yeah.
I think you need to be well prepared physically, emotionally, and spiritually for that journey. And almost all of us are not when we embark on it. So almost immediately you start working longer hours for less money. You don't go to the gym. You don't eat properly.
Yeah.
You start drinking too much. You live, breathe, and eat the business to the detriment of everything else in your life. And I think that has lasting damage to your family and to yourself. And I know that sounds drastic, but these are things that you need to think about carefully before you embark on a full-fledged, full-throttle, unleaded version of your life as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I think it is really important to find yourself a mentor right from the off who's been down that road.
Nice.
There is this dream that you're going to have freedom and work from a beach in Costa Rica and drive a Ferrari and all of those things. And occasionally that happens.
Yeah.
So I love the entrepreneur journey. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. But I think it's something that should not be taken lightly because of the toll that it can take on you, particularly if you're unprepared. That's the downside, or at least the challenges I think you should consider.
Right. Sometimes an 8-hour-a-day job with evenings off and weekends off where you don't have to think about work is okay.
I
not for me, but
I actually think that is very often a solid option. Because you've got to weigh up the pros and cons of going on your own. And I'm not in any way dissuading anybody at all. On the beautiful side, you really do get to build something very individual.
Yeah. Yeah.
You really can build a legacy for your family. And there are literally tens of thousands of examples in our province here in Alberta of entrepreneurs, particularly in the energy field, who have built incredible businesses that the next generation, in fact, even the generation after that, are now enjoying.
Yeah.
They can weld anything, build anything, move anything, pivot anything.
Yeah.
So that's an enormous positive impact on families.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that plays into entrepreneurism when it starts to have a level of success that needs to be carefully controlled with a valve of some kind is greed.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many very successful entrepreneurs, and by success I mean in a material sense.
Yeah.
I've walked with on a beach and I've asked the question, what's the dollar amount when enough is enough?
Right.
And nobody's ever been able to answer that for me.
Wow.
And most of them will carry on until their health gives out. So, you know, there is a tipping point, I think, where it no longer is a dream and it's no longer entrepreneurism. It degenerates into an addiction.
Wow.
And an addiction to money.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the number is.
Yeah.
And in fact, I don't even have a number in my head. I don't really measure life success in a material sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
But that can be quite frightening.
Yeah, no kidding.
So that's pretty common amongst successful entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I think. So from a creative entrepreneur point of view, I think that's a whole different journey.
Yeah.
I think that's a journey of the heart very often.
Yeah.
It's a journey of passion.
Yeah.
There's no passion in me building an insurance company other than the love for the team that we built and the opportunities that it allowed in people's lives financially. But when you get a creative in the entrepreneurial world, I feel that's a whole different ball game completely.
Yeah. Because
they are allowing their creation to flow on their own terms.
Yeah.
Because creation within a corporation is stifled completely.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's boxed.
Yeah.
You know, like you can be a corporate musician or a corporate graphic designer, but you don't get to do your own.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You just don't. Like you play the elevator music they want and you build the graphic design that fits their brand. And, so I think that's a whole different genre of entrepreneurism for me.
Yeah.
And usually it's not about the money.
Yeah.
And fame means something different to a creative. Recognition of their work is different to recognition of you as a leader or a corporate leader or a leadership speaker or a thought leader. It's a very different, I think, a different genre of entrepreneurism, and you'll know that better than I think, Michael. And
well, I tend to lead with my heart instead of my head.
Yeah, so I can't speak on behalf of that group of entrepreneurs. It's not something that I've experienced entirely.
I don't know. I'm looking across the table at you here, and I would have to say that you're on the journey of a creative entrepreneur right now.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like we've got this beautiful brand and we're a startup now. So, yeah. So I love watching a young artist or a young musician or a young graphic designer or somebody who loves the comic world, for instance, just light up when they talk about their creative side. And their eyes go dead when they start talking about business. Yeah. And that's why I have this vision of our incubator and accelerator for performing arts in particular. So I think the two can be married very successfully, but we've just got to find a way to do it.
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, I would love to help on that journey sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to a long relationship on that one, I think. So
wonderful. Yeah. Tony, thank you so much for joining me. And ladies and gentlemen, Tony McGrath.
Thanks. He was wonderful. And, you know, I have no idea what I said today, but hopefully I didn't offend anybody.
I've got a really good mentor of mine, Keith Johnstone, once said, if there's an audience to offend, offend them.
Yeah, and I've gone pretty much a whole hour without dropping an F-bomb, so that's pretty remarkable.
Crazy. Awesome.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Next week, we wrap season 1 with none other than Tony DeRosier, the founder and inventor of one of the coolest products on the planet, Abbey. Don't miss it. New episodes every week, so don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, pretty much anywhere fine podcasts are served, including our website, therebelrebelpodcast.com, or at @rebelrebelpod on all social media.